My name is Sarah Kolgaklis. I'm a fifth grade English language arts and social studies teacher, and today I'm going to take you on my new tech tool journey using Nearpod. I was able to partner with a coach. Her name is Stephanie Rutherford, and she told me all about this amazing tech tool. I believe that this would be such a wonderful tool for Camden County School System to implement throughout the district. And today I'm going to show you why. So my discovery and identification. So before I began meeting with Ms. Rutherford at Camden Middle School, she suggested that I look up reviews on this amazing tech tool. Common Sense Education said Nearpod offers an interactive platform for educators to create engaging lessons that incorporate multimedia elements and formative assessments. These are two of my favorite pieces to Nearpod. I love the multimedia elements such as virtual field trips and 3D objects. There's lots of different games and interactive pieces to this tech tool. And I also love the formative assessments. They give real-time data for me to analyze as an educator and to adjust my lessons. So as a district, I believe teachers would love this. EdSurge said teachers praise Nearpod for its ability to increase student engagement through interactive presentations and real-time feedback features. I love, like I said, this one's very similar to Common Sense Education. I love that real-time feedback that allows students to quickly find out where their weaknesses and their strengths are, and allows me to provide remediation or to accelerate the lesson. So great piece for that. Education Week says Nearpod's immersive learning experiences and interactive content help teachers enhance student participation and understanding in the classroom throughout this journey. So in my discovery and identification, what made me think that it could enhance learning or meet the need for students? So there are 3 ways that I believe Nearpod could enhance learning or meet the needs for students: differentiation, assessment, and student engagement. So let's take a look at each of these. In the differentiation arena, Nearpod offers options for differentiation through customized pacing, individualized feedback, and tailored content. First, we'll look at customized pacing. It allows for teachers to select an option for a teacher-paced lesson. So say that it is a PowerPoint, an interactive PowerPoint with games and different multimedia pieces within it. I can choose to lead the class in a whole group discussion of the topic, and then they have those little parts where they're doing it individually or with a group or with a pair. Or I can choose to make it an individual student pace. So the students will work at their own pace, and I can watch on the computer and see which parts they are on, which interactive pieces they have answered. It will give me their scores, if it's a quiz or if it's a short answer or anything like that. I can provide feedback to them right then. I can individualize feedback, I can comment back to them, and it allows educators to meet the diverse needs of students within the same lesson. Thinking about the different learning styles, if they're a visual learner, it allows for video embedment into the lessons. It can create read aloud situations, and I'll show you that right now. So if we go to our Nearpod. So in my discovery and identification, what made me think that it could enhance learning or meet the need for students? So there are 3 ways that I believe Nearpod could enhance learning or meet. So in settings in Nearpod, you can see the basic student settings, the autofill student name. So in settings in Nearpod, you can see the basic student settings, the autofill student name. So in the enable immersive reader, this would be really good for read aloud accommodation. And there's all these different things that you can turn on or off. You can require student responses and prevent them skipping to the next slide on the lesson. I know a lot of my middle school students would definitely try this. So I would require a student to respond to a interactive piece of the lesson before they moved on to the next one. It shares quiz and multiple choice results with me, allowing me to adjust my lesson plans and what I have in store for the students. And then the collaborative board is a really awesome interactive piece that would really fall into the student engagement that we're about to talk about. But it also is a great differentiation piece for students that like to collaborate with others on their work. So what happens is it pops up as a board, and students can collaborate with a partner or with the whole class on something, and they post their answer, and the teacher can choose to release all of the answers at once, or they can choose to do it after they review it. So that's something that I also would do. I also would review and then post the answers up on the board for students to see, and they really get excited when they see their answer flash on the board. Here's a preview of one of the pre-made lessons that has lots of student engagement pieces. This is one of the Nearpod VR explorations. So as students click through, they're able to see essential questions. I'm going to get to the slide with the interactive pieces. But this is really awesome because you can find, and this goes into some of the reasons why I believe it'd be an excellent tech tool to bring into our district, but it aligns with the state standards. So here's a preview of one of the pre-made lessons that has lots of student engagement pieces. This is one of the Nearpod VR explorations. Further, it says Let's Dive Deeper, who is MLK, and it has a Net Geo or National Geographic kids page about Martin Luther King, another interactive piece where they get to explore kind of like a web little scavenger hunt there. They have an open-ended question, and so we get to answer that, and the teacher can post their results on there. They have a quiz that will give the teacher some feedback on if they understood the lesson. Lots of questions there. And then there's some class discussion pieces. Let's hear from Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream speech, so they can listen to it. It appeals to our auditory learners. So there's a video of his I Have a Dream speech. And as you click through the slides, you can see there's 36 slides, but all of them have pieces that really show student engagement, really enhance student engagement, I should say. But this website has so many pre-made lessons that would be excellent to use within our district. And they are all standard-based with lots of student engagement pieces or opportunities for student engagement. What made me think that it could enhance learning or meet the need for students is assessment. Nearpod allows for lots of options for assessments, quizzes, polls, collaborative boards, all kinds of stuff that gives the teacher real-time feedback to show the teacher what they need to adjust in their lessons to provide remediation to maybe extend the lesson. So I really am impressed with the reports that it gives. Here is an student report just to show one that I playground. It shows the total participation, averages, and then as you can see, an open-ended question, a quiz, a poll, and a quiz. So if they answer those, it would give me the feedback, and then I would be able to adjust my lessons. Student report, just to show you one that I have with this playground. It shows the total participation, averages, and then as you can see, an open-ended question, a quiz, a poll, and a quiz. So if they answer those, it would give me the feedback, and then I would be. So you may be wondering about my journey and how I became an expert at Nearpod. I'm going to explain how I learned how to use Nearpod effectively and efficiently inside the classroom. Week 1, we explored a lot of awesome basic things that other educators could use inside their classroom to learn more about Nearpod. So you may be wondering about my journey and how I became an expert at Nearpod. I'm going to explain how I learned how to use Nearpod effectively and efficiently inside the classroom. Week 1, we explored a lot of awesome basic things that other educators could use inside their classroom to learn more about Nearpod. So week 1 started with me meeting up with Miss Rutherford. She was able to provide lots of help when she's not available. She showed me all the different features that Nearpod provides for teachers to learn this tech tool on their own. So I was very impressed with all of the different resources that they provide for teachers to learn about Nearpod. Some of the UDL integration that it provides is various tutorials, guides, and video demonstrations, and they're very good quality videos. That was probably my favorite, their YouTube channel, which I'll show you here in just a second. And these demonstrations accommodate different learning styles. So there's a blog if you're more interested in reading about the ways Nearpod is effective in the classroom. There's videos, there's blogs. There's a Facebook group if you're into more of an interactive piece with other teachers providing their take on Nearpod. It also provides various options for action and expression by allowing participants to create simple, interactive lessons or presentations. It's very user-friendly, and you'll see this in a few weeks when I go over week 2 and 3 and how you can edit these pre-made lessons or create your own. Week 2 is where I believe our district will get the biggest teacher buy-in. This is where teachers I got to. Week 2 is where I believe our district will get the biggest teacher buy-in. This is where teachers I got to. Week 2 is where I believe our district will get the biggest teacher buy-in. This is where teachers I got to. Week 2 is where I believe our district will get the biggest teacher buy-in. This is where teachers I got to. Week 2 is where I believe our district will get the biggest teacher buy-in. This is where teachers I got to. Week 2 is where So week 2 was where it really got fun. And this is where I believe most teachers will be able to buy into using Nearpod in their classroom. So this is where the district can really drive home the importance of using standard-based lessons and engaging lessons. So we're going to explore a little bit of these and the ones that I used and was interested in. So she familiarized me with Nearpod's library, the resources available to teachers. There was so many, I believe this week, even though it was exciting, it was a little overwhelming. Nearpod's library has lessons, activities, and all kinds of multimedia resources. She helped me to explore the pre-made lessons. And let's face it, this again is where we can get the buy-in from teachers to use this resource because it helps us save time. As teachers, we do not have a lot of time, and using these pre-made lessons that are aligned with the standards are very helpful. They cover various subjects, topics, and grade levels, and again, they are all aligned with our state standards. There's a drop-down menu that allows teachers to access the Common Core standards, or they can select their state and the list of different states there, and it has state standards that are aligned with the pre-made lessons. Nearpod also provides diverse formats such as slideshows, interactive activities, virtual reality experiences, and base. When you first log in, every time it's going to take you to this home screen. If you go over here where it says Nearpod Library, this is where the fun begins. So as you can see, there's all kinds of different lessons. If we scroll down, week 3, Stephanie took me through even more of the things that we could propose for teacher buy-in. We explored all kinds of activities. Here's a list of things that we did. So I discovered the interactive activities and assessments that were available in the library. For example, there are quizzes, polls, open-ended questions, and collaborative boards. All of these are ways that teachers can then use those assessments to drive their instruction. So this is a big talking point for me to propose for the district to buy Nearpod, because this will help teachers to analyze the data in real time and then use that data to be sure that they remediate students that maybe need some extra help or extend the lesson for students that are ready to move on. I also explored the different engagement options like gamified activities, virtual field trips like we showed you, and simulations. There were also lots of different multimedia resources that I explored, such as videos, audio clips, images, and documents. I considered how these resources could enhance teaching and learning experiences in my classroom, as well as other classrooms in our district. So week 3, Stephanie took me through even more of the things that we could propose for teacher buy-in. We explored all kinds of activities. Here's a list of things that we did. So I discovered the interactive activities and assessments that were available in the library. For example, there are quizzes, polls. So week 4 was when she started to coach me on how to use other interactive features of Nearpod. And one of my favorite was called Time to Climb. So here's a little bit more about what we did on week 4. So again, she continued to show me examples of the enhanced engagement with Nearpod's interactive features. One of the ones, like I said, that I was very impressed by was Time to Climb, because this is a game that allows students to challenge one another on what they've learned. So if you have teachers in the district that enjoy gamifying the classroom, this would be a beautiful way to take a presentation and have a section of that presentation, like a brain break, that also collects data on the students and how they understood the lesson. The UDL standard that this covered was providing multiple means of engagement. So there's lots of different ways that you can engage the learner using Nearpod, whether it's a poll, whether it's creating a collaborative board, whether it's putting a virtual reality part to the lesson, whether it's Time to Climb, which I'm about to show you a little clip of, or allowing the participants to actually enjoy just Nearpod and exploring the different lessons in Nearpod. So this was a great week for engagement for me as the learner, learning from my coach, and I believe that this will be a great way to show teachers to enhance gamification in the classroom and engagement with their students. So week 4 was when she started to coach me on how to use other interactive features of Nearpod. And one of my favorite was called Time to Climb. So here's a little bit more about what we did on week 4. So again, she continued to show me examples of the enhanced engagement with Nearpod's interactive features. One of the ones, like I said, that I was very impressed by was Time to Climb, because this is a game that allows students to challenge one another on what they've learned. This activity, here's a little bit about it from Nearpod. So this activity provides fun and a competitive way for students to practice identifying types of energy. Students will race to the top of the mountain by answering the following questions quickly and accurately. So whatever the lesson is, you can use this game, just place it inside the lesson, the PowerPoint, and they can have an interactive piece, a gamified piece. They even get to choose their little animal. So this activity, here's a little bit about it from Nearpod. So this activity provides fun and a competitive way for students to practice identifying types of energy. Students will race to the Another very important piece to week 4 was my introduction to a Facebook group that I use for my PLN, which is called Nearpod for Educators. It was excellent. So I wanted to share a little bit about that Facebook page and show you how active these teachers are in posting questions and comments about Nearpod. Maybe they have a lesson that they want to share. It's a really great quality Facebook group that I would highly suggest the district release as another resource for teachers to use. So here is that Facebook group. It's called Nearpod for Educators. It has over 43,000 members. As you can see, the last post was February 23rd, and you can see this is their Google site, and it is a contract-based positions for Nearpod. So if you want to go to work for Nearpod, if you scroll down, what happens when the district stops buying Nearpod? Can you access lessons? So you can ask questions on here, and I'll just kind of scroll down and show that. Also, if you scroll up, you can see where people have posted media about Nearpod. So I really enjoyed exploring this Nearpod for Educators community. You can see not even Nearpod user yet. It shows you how to sign up. It has some resources like the blog that I mentioned before. You can be a certified educator, or and that's something that our district could do. We could equip our teachers to be trainers, to be a certified educator and lead PLs, professional learning, for the educators in the building to learn more about Nearpod. So lots of good resources, even a phone number to give a call if you have problems with Nearpod. So this is just a great resource, a great community of teachers asking different questions and providing lots of feedback. So great way to learn more from other teachers. Incorporate Nearpod into different instructional strategies. What UDL integration standard this was is providing multiple means of action and expression. I discovered week 6 is for assessment. Stephanie took me through the different ways that Nearpod can be used for student assessment. So here are some examples. She showed me how to use Nearpod for student assessment, and the UDL standard that this touches on is providing multiple means of action and expression. Participants learn how to access student learning using diverse assessment options in Nearpod, including quizzes, polls, open-ended questions, and interactive activities with my coach. And we really enjoyed planning a lesson for my students together. So this was very beneficial for my students in my classroom, as well as showing me how that one-on-one coaching really is excellent in order to really gain some understanding and planning. And she said that she would love to come in and observe me implementing that lesson using Nearpod. So that is what she did. She came into my classroom and watched us do this lesson. So here is a little bit about what we did that week. On week 7, Stephanie showed me how to use Nearpod for one of my lessons. I started planning a lesson using Nearpod for my students. As I went through each week, I tried to use features from what we learned. So when she was teaching me about assessments, I found a already made lesson there that provided my students with an assessment on the standard that was being taught. They all seemed very engaged. I will say that making sure that they are on the PowerPoint was a big deal for me, and I loved how the student-paced lesson, or any really lesson, they had to type in a code that will allow the computer to lock them out of everything else. So that was a very awesome piece that we didn't really discuss during the coaching aspect of it, but I found out when I was implementing the lessons that it provides this for teachers. So what a great way to make sure that students are engaged on a lesson using their Chromebook. I know oftentimes teaching middle school or upper elementary school, our students know how to navigate around things and exit out of the PowerPoint that we're trying to present if we're allowing them to pace it themselves. This locked the screen from anything else except for Nearpod, so that was awesome. The UDL standard that I worked through this week was to provide multiple means of engagement. Participants explore collaborative learning experiences using Nearpod. Nearpod allows students to engage in group discussions, virtual brainstorming sessions, and problem solving. So again, this helped me to plan my engaging lesson for my students. Ways that I explored the different platforms to find even more information on Nearpod. The first way was our PLN group. It was a Facebook page. As I said before, it had over 43,000 educators on the site, and they were posting daily about how they use Nearpod and what they use it for. My very favorite was the Nearpod YouTube channel, and then the Nearpod blog. All of these had so many different details on how to use Nearpod inside the classroom. Evaluation, I gave overall evaluation for the tech tool was a 43 out of 54. In almost every criteria, it scored the highest level. There were only a few weaknesses, and I'll discuss those here in a second. So some of the strengths of Nearpod are student engagement, differentiation, and real-time assessment. All of these pieces Nearpod scored the maximum level of points. Some of the reasons for that for student engagement, of course, it has those interactive pieces, the games, the things that students love to collaborate with. Differentiation pieces are the different styles of learners we have in our classroom. It provides audio, video, text. So if you're a visual learner, you like to watch the videos, or if you're an auditory learner, you like to listen to the notes read to you, it can do that. And then, of course, that real-time assessment, I believe that that's what really will sell this to the district, because you're able to receive data and then follow that data to help assist your students. So there were some weaknesses, and these aren't from the tech tool evaluation, but I will show you those here in a second. Some of the basic weaknesses were technical issues. Nearpod, of course, needs internet access, and a lot of schools may have a lag in their internet access, or if we lose power or something like that, of course we would have those technical issues. Going from class to class, sometimes the Wi-Fi takes a little bit of time for it to catch up. So this definitely could be something that could cause some disruption in the lesson. The cost, there is a free version and then a paid version. The free version has limited features, but for me personally, it had everything that I need. But if a district has a very strict budget, this might be an area that could cause some issues. And then the learning curve. Obviously, it took me a few weeks with my coach to work through how to use this. And I will say personally for me, it was just because there was so much. And if that's one of the only negative things I can say as a learner of this new tech tool, it provides so many different resources and different lessons that are pre-made, all kinds of interactive pieces. But it could be a little overwhelming. But the learning curve, you probably need some type of professional development just to be able to utilize all that it offers. So let's take a look at that tech tool together. So here's my evaluation, and I will say out of the tech tool evaluation, the weaknesses on our tech tool was in security, and that was the one that concerned me. So if we will go down to security, that was the lowest category. And of course, when you're working with students, it's the privacy data protection rights. When you sign up for Nearpod, you can use your teacher email, and then users maintain ownership of their intellectual property. There wasn't any serious concerns, but I will say for a school, this would be an area to not bring a tech tool in if the privacy and data policy was lacking. And as I said, my conclusion about the tool would be that it helps to supercharge the classroom. It makes the boring slideshows of yesterday something in the past, and students, when they see a presentation on some new topic, they get really excited because it has videos and quizzes and virtual field trips, and it feels like you're bringing the whole world to their classroom. So from my experience using this tool, it's just such an enhancement to every lesson. So when I first began, I tried to create a lesson, and that went okay. It was fine. But what I found the most useful was their already made lessons, and I'm going to talk about that here in just a second. And as I said, my conclusion about the tool would be that it helps to supercharge the classroom. It makes the boring slideshows of yesterday something in the past, and students a second. So some of the universal design for learning standards that it did well on and it implemented was multiple means of representation. As you saw today, I gave you lots of examples of how multimedia was used: images, videos, audio clips, all of that. Some of my favorites were the 3D models, the virtual field trips, very engaging for our diverse learners. Multiple means of engagement, of course, there was polls, more quizzes, collaborative discussions, and this all fostered active participation and motivation. So I really personally love the virtual reality experiences throughout this presentation. You may be wondering, what are these random pictures of students? That is my technology students that I taught. And I was just thinking how in my tech class, this would be such a beautiful tech tool to use and utilize in a classroom like that. Lots of different virtual reality options for students to really use those virtual reality goggles that I had access to in there to go on these virtual field trips using Nearpod. The last one was multiple means of expression. So how the students express themselves. Nearpod allowed for text response, drawings, audio recordings. So it gave that collaborative feature to help students communicate with their peers and create a peer-to-peer learning and communication. So these were the top 3 universal design for learning points that it addressed. And yes, it addressed what I expected it to after I got in there and started looking around. Second. So some of the universal design for learning standards that it did well on and it implemented was multiple means of representation. As you saw today, I gave you lots of examples of how multimedia was used: images, videos, audio clips, all of that. Some of my favorites were the 3D models, the virtual field trips, very engaging for our diverse learners. Multiple means of engagement, of course, there was polls, more quizzes, collaborative discussions, and this all fostered active participation. Visual and multimedia features worked really well for my students. They love that. So integrating visual aids, including images and videos, it helped students grasp abstract concepts like figurative language more easily and made the lesson more interactive and memorable. And what didn't work, we had a few students that I assumed this would happen because our school is a very rural school, away from everything. So when the students change classes, sometimes they have to recycle their Chromebook to allow it to connect to the Wi-Fi in my classroom. So a few of them experienced some technical issues with connectivity, but that's not Nearpod's fault. But that did cause some disruptions to the lesson. I thought it was kind of funny when I introduced the PowerPoint. I had some moans and groans and some kids that were kind of sad that we were taking notes for the day. But once we got into it and we explored it, they were so eager to get into some Nearpod lessons in the future. So they were able to explore the lesson, answer quizzes, had some matching games, and I'll show that here in just a second. But all of these great interactive pieces really helped them enjoy what a traditional lesson probably wouldn't provide. Visual and multimedia features worked really well for my students. They love that. So integrating visual aids, including images and videos, it helps. And what didn't work, we had a few students that I assumed this would happen because our school is a very rural school, away from everything. So when the students change classes, sometimes they have to recycle their Chromebook to allow it to connect to the Wi-Fi in my classroom. So a few of them experienced some technical issues with connectivity, but that's not Nearpod's fault. But that did cause some disruptions to the lesson. I thought it was kind of funny when I introduced the PowerPoint. I had some moans and groans and some kids that were kind of sad that we were taking notes for the day. But once we got into it and we explored it, they were so eager to get into some Nearpod lessons in the future. So they were able to explore the lesson, answer quizzes, had some matching games, and I'll show that here in just a second. But all of these great interactive pieces really help them enjoy what a traditional lesson probably wouldn't provide. So here's some of the ways that I adjusted or managed the overseeing of the learning environment. So I organized students' access to Nearpod accounts. They had to sign up, and all they had to do was sign up with their Google account. I know a lot of school districts do have it on their class link. However, my school currently does not have the pro version, so it's not on our class link. So that I had to put that in their Google Classroom, but that was not a very big deal. I had the devices ready to use. So student Chromebooks, as I said before, we have a one-to-one Chromebook situation in our school. And I managed the pacing for the lesson by monitoring student progress and providing support as needed. Now there's also a teacher-led option, and I could have done that for this lesson, but I managed pacing of the lesson by monitoring student progress and providing support as needed. You could always do a teacher-led lesson, but for this, I chose to let them move at their own pace. What would I change? I would provide more opportunities for student-generated examples of figurative language, so allowing that collaborative board where they could type something and then show some examples that they had. The pre-made lesson offered a variety of examples, but it didn't incorporate student-graded examples, and that would personalize the lesson. What accessibility or accommodations did I allow, or did I have to make? I just did lesson content and pacing based on student understanding. I had a small group working on in a small table with our collaborative teacher, and she did a student-paced lesson, same lesson, teacher-paced lesson, so she was able to move a little bit slower through the lesson and kind of talk with them through some of the concepts, and then modifying the instructions and activities to accommodate the diverse learners. So that's the group that was over there with Ms. Timmons at the table. So here's the lesson I gave my students after a short mini lesson on the different types of figurative language. Students have learned this throughout the year, and I wanted to check for understanding. Did they understand the lessons that we had previously taught? So it was activating some prior knowledge and seeing if they could interact with this lesson. And they did a really good job. The first thing I noticed when I put this on the board, it said figurative language, and it looked like your traditional slideshow for the day. And I heard some moans and groans, and I was thinking, oh, just hang in there, guys. So after I got going, they noticed the first thing that we came to that they really liked was the matching pairs. And let me see if I can get it to load for you guys, because they really enjoyed matching the pieces, right? It had the definition and then the word. So they were able to drag and drop and match it with a pair. So as you can see, match each literary device with its example, and this gave me real-time data to use to review the terms that they didn't know. It was great. They had a good time with it. They like to race each other to see who can match it the quickest. All right, so the next one was a drawing activity. So here's the lesson. They would then go in here, and they would draw an example of imagery. After that, they had a short little quiz. Then they had a poll of how confident they felt. Many of them were very confident, and some of them, it showed us what small groups we needed to create. So